It's range day with the Avidity Arms PD10. You'll see cold shots, kind of, sort of. We'll do full magazine +1, our trademark what's for dinner test to see what it eats, take it over to the spinner for sights and trigger control, do some practical accuracy, and then give you concluding thoughts coming up next on GBGuns. So the chuckle about cold shots is because I'm out here filming by myself today and got a couple guns done, got partway through the next one, realized that I had forgot to turn the microphone on. So to save card space, I went into the camera, new camera by the way, and thought I'd delete those files. Well, I ended up deleting the whole range days footage. So starting over. Got 10 rounds of Winchester white box thanks to our ammo squared supporters and the reduced size torso out there at 20 yards. Now that we have two cameras, the old one is serving as target cam, so you guys can watch there. See how this does? Man, sometimes it just happens. Ooh, coming up nose high. There we go, gotta learn this grip angle. There we go. Oh, we had an extractor slip. Looks kind of like a double feed, but since we just shot, we know that that is an empty casing in there. If you ever have something like this happen, lock the slide to the rear, remove the magazine, and rack it a few times, or you can just shake the round out like I did. But the racking is more dramatic, so that's taught more. The racking also helps if the case is stuck, but in this case, I knew it was just a slipped extractor. I'm not under duress. There we go, learned my point of aim a little bit. Smoky Winchester. It's been a while since I've shot single stacks. It's pretty comfortable being able to get my whole hand on the gun. I know a lot of folks in the tabletop were saying, but why? We have micro compacts now. Why would you need something like a single stack? Well, with 10+1 rounds, it's the same capacity, except you can actually hold on to it, which should make things a little bit more comfortable. Speaking of comfort, next we'll do full mag +1. See if I can run this thing quickly and keep it on target. Not sure, not too confident. We do full magazine +1 to test how well the gun and the magazines run that way. It's when you've got the most possible stress on the magazine and the most friction in the gun. It also gives me a little bit of time to get more acquainted with the gun. I will say these magazines, which by the way are based on a 9mm 1911 pattern, just use an Avidity Arms floor plate, do tend to get tough to load after the 8th round. I'd say round 8, you gotta tuck it back, 9 and 10, you gotta push on. But other than that, they're all right. Let me get my target camera on for you guys. And now we should be ready to go. The trigger on this is a little heavier and a little bit longer than what is in fashion these days. However, as a defensive tool, which is what it's designed for, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means you have to put a little more work in if you want to look cool at the range. Next, let's see what it eats. Thanks to our patrons and ammo squared supporters, some manufacturers, and a viewer, it's what's for dinner time. As I run by these, you'll notice that we've got varying different weights, case material, projectile shapes, ogive locations, and overall length. What we're looking for is to see, will the gun feed these rounds from side lock? Will it cycle and feed another round of the same type? And then lastly, will we get slide lock when empty? If you're curious about trying any of this stuff, check out the pinned comment for the article over at gbgunsdepot.com, where we can point you in the direction of where to find some of these loads. Thanks to the wonders of having two cameras now, we can have one on the target and one at the gun. So you should have a better idea how the stuff's doing. Should be easier to see. We're gonna start off with one of my favorites, the Liberty Civil Defense 50 grain +P, screaming lightweight stuff. I say favorite because I've got 18 rounds of it on my hip right now, and it feels lighter than 15 rounds of regular heavier stuff. So that's kind of cool. How's it gonna run the PD10? Find out. Did not get slide lock, interestingly enough, but it managed the recoil quite well. Next up is a classic that may or may not be around anymore, and that is the ARX load. This is a 68 grain. The red box, sorry, 65 grain. Use the polymer twisty screwdriver tips. I say may not be around anymore because ARX was sold to Norma, who was then bought by Beretta. So what's the future of this load? I have no idea. Pretty soft in this gun. I tell you, it really helps to be able to have a whole grip on the gun. For circle number 3, we have, thanks to a viewer, the Underwood Extreme Defender 68 grain plus P. That stuff. Thank you for sending that in. This is the copper screwdriver stuff. Whew, and it's punchy. No cycling issues. Should hope not with that kind of energy. Circle number 4, another classic, the Hornady Critical Defense. This is their 115 grain stuff. Sorry folks, still learning this trigger. No issues. Circle 5 is Wolf 115 grain steel case. We use steel and aluminum when we've got it because, well, there's a different friction coefficient between the cases and between the case and the chamber. So sometimes you end up with feeding issues or extraction issues. Also, the expansion and contraction rate of steel and aluminum is different than brass, so that can cause its own issues as well. However, it is cheap and readily available, so a lot of people shoot it. So we like to see if it runs in these guns. And it does. Circle number 6. Stuff smells a little sweet. Finally, we've got the breeze back. I, as I mentioned earlier, filmed a bunch of videos earlier, but there was no breeze, so I couldn't smell the stuff. Federal Punch 124 grain. This is jacketed hollow point. Not the Federal Premium Punch, just the regular punch. Less fruit. Recoil's a little stouter, but this gun drops right back on sights. Very easy to shoot. Now we've got another 124 grain load, the Sierra Outdoor Master. Those of you who are literate may have seen our roundup a while back of defensive loads in different barrel lengths, and we included this stuff, and the performance was not that great. It's very affordable, probably for reasons. Runs though. Now we're moving into heavy for caliber with 147 grain. This is a Federal Premium Law Enforcement Tactical HST, not to be confused with the non-tactical HST, which is not meant for doing tactical things. No issues. Guns sure running well. Now we're going heavy for caliber with 150 grain Federal Syntech Action Pistol. It's the red lipstick stuff. This is formulated for gamers to comply with energy requirements but still shoot softly. And softly it shoots, but it still runs the PD10. Our heaviest load today is from PPU's subsonic line, 158 grain. It is a long, long bullet. Obviously meant for suppressor use, but we like it in What's for Dinner as an extreme. Circle 10. And no issues. The gun runs. Now let's head over to the spinner and see how well I can manage these sights in this trigger for a little sight and trigger control test. You're looking at our 6-inch Titan Great Outdoors spinner target. We are back here 13 yards away, but I'm going to leave you guys zoomed in so you can watch. We use this for sights and trigger control because it's a small target that starts moving as soon as you hit it. The more you hit it, the faster it moves, the more important timing a well-placed shot is. So it's a good judge of, at the very least, our ability to learn sights and trigger. But since we've done this hundreds of times, it gives us somewhat of a feedback system to evaluate pistols. Certainly not my best run. In fact, the run I filmed earlier was better, I swear. But if you saw all those shots that did hit just right. So the sights were excellent. We've got blacked out rear, square notch, and a nice bright front sight, made it really easy. Timing the shot, however, became a little more difficult simply because I haven't mastered this trigger yet. It's got more weight, more pull total length than is in mode, as I mentioned. It's appropriate for a carry gun. It's appropriate for a time when each shot is likely to result in a lawsuit of its own, regardless of whether or not it's a justified shot. So I won't criticize it for that. I am having a little bit of thumb knuckle irritation, just coming from, looks like it might be a little bit of slide bite. My hands might be a little bit on the large side for this, but it is a very thin gun, as you can see, and yeah, it slides open. This thing's totally safe. So the sights are there, the trigger, it's just when you got to learn. Speaking of learning that trigger and using those sights, next up is some practical accuracy 5 shots from 7 yards. That black circle square is what I'll be aiming at, the one on the left. That's a 1-inch square. I'm 7 yards away. Tends to scale out to about the width of a front sight post, which makes for great accuracy practice. For ammo, I'm using Winchester White Box. Kept feeling like I was going to throw a shot, but that came out pretty well. Including thoughts once more on the Avidity Arms PD10. Found it quite manageable to shoot. The trigger, being a little heavier than what I'm accustomed to, did require a little more work, but as I said previously, that's a good thing for a defensive gun. A lot of you challenged the idea of a single stack in 2023. To that I retort with, well, you can get your whole hand on this thing, and with a 10+1 rounds, you're at 11 rounds, same size or same capacity as the micros with the flush fit magazine. So it's really not that far off. A lot of you also in the tabletop commented, hey, it's not red dot ready. We opted for the iron sights option. They do have one that is red dot ready. The reason why we went with iron sights is as soon as you introduce a red dot to a firearm, you're no longer reviewing the firearm as it comes out of the box. And that's what we try to do for you guys, so that what the experience that we have is one you can replicate. Red dots add reciprocating mass. That can cause some sensitivity. It's very rare, but what I've seen happen more often is the casing eject, bounce off the lens, land back in and cause a malfunction that, if you're not really paying attention to it, looks like the gun malfunctioned. When the gun did its job, it's just the red dot caused the way. Doesn't happen all the time. It's just certain red dots on certain guns. Point being, I don't want to make a combination like that on accident and cause the gun to look different. So we review things as they come out of the box. So we reviewed an iron sight model. If we had the optics one, we still would have reviewed it iron sights. I think Avidity Arms accomplished their goal in creating something that you could train with, that's slim and easy to carry, something that's appropriate for defense. The trigger is heavier than I personally like on the range. I've already said it, but it doesn't mean it's not appropriate for carry. I carry a double action, single action most of the time, the Ground Power K100, and I carry it decocked. So that heavy trigger is what I'm relying on to help me make sure I'm making a good shot. You get that every time consistently with the PD10. So mission accomplished there too. I think it's pretty cool. It takes a whole lot of effort to create a gun company. You can't just do that out of thin air. Coming from an idea to something in production is pretty neat. If you are like me and you like supporting things that challenge the establishment, the PD10 is probably going to be a pistol for you. If you're just looking for a good single stack pistol, I don't have reservations about recommending it. I'd just say make sure you've got, well, check your hand fit first. For me, in my hands, I was getting a little bit of thumb knuckle beating, possibly slide bite, because my hand really gets up there on this thing. This is a, I hate using this phrase, but I think it's got a low bore axis. I think it truly is lower. You end up with your hand right there under the thing, which helps a lot with controlling under recoil, as well as the relief here on both sides for resting your support thumb is excellent. Also makes for a good index point for your trigger finger to know that you're off the trigger, and so that everyone else can see clearly that you're off the trigger. Thanks for watching.